Interviews with pants. It's interviews with people that have pants. The people in these interviews, they've got pants on. 'Cause this is interviews with pants. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Interviews with Pants. I'm your host, Felix Pants, and today we have it all. We have the rose, the wrist, because today's guest is the political streamer, YouTuber, TikToker, Rose Wrist. Hey, Rose, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully, and I really do appreciate you including my main medium of content creation there. A lot of people don't realize that I'm actually a hyper famous TikToker, and this YouTube thing is just something I do on the side.
Well, not so much lately, huh?
No, not really. I've been slacking off a bit, but you know what? Hey, all successful people, especially with the massive success I have on TikTok, a bit of a TikTok celebrity. You need to take breaks sometimes. So,
yeah, I get that. Anyway, you're gonna talk with Benjamin Politics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. We're scheduling the debate. I'm preparing my documents and the exact research question, and after that, we're gonna book a date. And so yeah,
that's massive TikTok content right there.
Exactly.
Gonna get some delicious views with this. So I'm kind of familiar with your content, but everyone that talks to you is like, "Wait, how old are you?" So just for people that don't know you, how old are you?
I am actually 13. No, I'm 17 years old. And yeah, I'm 17. I'm born 2003. So yeah. Wow,
what?
Crazy.
So young yet so smart. Rose Weenus, I'm actually wearing shorts right now. I'm sorry.
So false advertising off the bat? Is this a good way to start off the interview? I don't know.
Maybe my reputation is all fucked now.
I think so.
Just to be sure, are you streaming on Twitch right now?
I'm streaming on both Twitch and YouTube, yes.
And is it in their TOS that you can't drink on stream?
I think you can. I think that's possible.
I heard that once on Fantano's stream, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's because he's partnered or something.
Hey, yeah. If you're planning on consuming any beverages, it's just a non-alcoholic version, right? So
yeah, it's tea then.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the issue here.
Right? Exactly.
I think we're all good.
Epic. So you're 17-year-old, so you're in high school right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you know so much about politics and how to do research, and I'm curious: is it normal for a Swedish student to know how to do research, like about systemic issues and such things?
I wouldn't say. Oh, this is going to be very difficult for me to be realistic and also not sound like I'm being incredibly pretentious.
You can be like super humble. I'm going to be the one jerking you off. So just do your thing.
All right. I do feel that I have been given like a very unique set of circumstances and upbringing in regards to what schools I've been able to go to and the different places I've lived at, and a sort of I suppose a very deep rooted not stubbornness, but I suppose drive to be able to get a lot better at things that I'm not very good at. So all the things that I'm really in my life that I'm somewhat decent at, or that I take an interest in, I have at one point in time been completely awful at that and had a sort of humiliating experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether this be me starting to play basketball because I played basketball a year and a half ago at school and that was complete garbage, and then I dedicated an entire summer to it, whether it be me losing a couple games of chess on stream once and then getting a chess.com membership and practicing there, fairly frequently, or whether it be politics and debates and having an experience a few years back, a lot of years, I was 5 or 6 years back, and when I lived in Spain, where I wasn't able to adequately verbalize what I believed in and defend my beliefs, and that sort of encouraged me to become more well-read and more rhetorically effective. So yeah.
Yeah, so in high school right now, you're in this international program or something? Is that how it's called?
Yeah, International Baccalaureate. It's like a global high school program.
Yeah, I think we had the same thing in my high school. It's for the kids that brag, right? It's the hard program that.
Yeah, you'll know if someone if there's someone within your vicinity that takes IB, you'll know because they'll fucking tell you. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually a theater kid, so just to let you
Ah,
know.
I see, I see. So yeah, I'm gonna
Mhm.
exert my my superiority here.
Exactly
Stand a
right.
bit
That's what
straighter,
I
but
thought. You speaking international kids. So, do you already know what you're gonna do in like university? Like that's next year, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I have actually already applied to a range of. Well, no, I didn't. I applied to one university, and I got in there. Well, conditionally, I suppose, assuming I don't like drop out now, which I currently did not have plans of doing. But yeah, I'm scheduled to start studying sociology at the end of August this year. So yeah, it's a big surprise with regards to what I
Hmm.
typically talk about. But yeah.
Nice. That's why sociology in particular, because there's political science and whatever else. Why sociology in particular?
I feel that sociology, number one, it's what I'm most interested about because it has a lot more to do with the empirical side of things in regards to, I know like all, subjects have to do with empirical sides of things to differing extents, obviously. But when it comes, except for theater is no empirics. But when it comes to the subjects you talked about, like political science and stuff like that, the reason why I picked sociology is because I feel like it will give me the broadest possible base to build off of when it comes to going forward with that. Because with an education in sociology, I can choose to pursue a whole range of different subjects as my master's, everything from like really economics to more hardcore like theoretical or historical political work and sciences from there. And on top of that, it's just the things that tends to interest me more. It's talking about like social issues and how socioeconomics interact with people, and intersectional analysis as a whole are things I find really interesting and that are very sort of like defining and important in my worldview. And as such, I find it important to read up more about it and become more educated on the topic. And it's something that I find really fun as well.
So you're already pretty engaged in like researching that stuff. So does
Mhm.
high school right now feel kind of like a waste of time? Like what are you learning in high school? It just
I'm gonna be honest. I think that there's actually there's quite a bit. Well, it depends on the subject, right? So first of all, fuck maths always. That's I can't like I'm doing great in my all my other subjects, but maths, oh boy, I can't deal with maths. But when it comes to things like history and economics, those are the two subjects that I feel like the education I receive now is going to be pretty significant for me going forward. Like there is so many times during the past 2 years where I have directly used and applied a lot of the knowledge I received from like history classes and from economics to be able to more adequately understand the things I'm really, interested in learning about, which often have to do with my YouTube stuff and politics, to be able to form arguments, to be able to just explain things in a better way. I've often even like done segments on my channel where I basically just like explain a textbook concept on stream. So I think there's definitely like quite a lot to be gained from here. But as for like a lot of the other subjects, it's not quite as much. But it doesn't really matter to me a lot because I enjoy like school. I enjoy academic environments and educational environments. So it doesn't really feel like a waste of time for me by any means.
yeah, I get that. You're a nerd. We understand. You just love to learn. And I
Sure.
see Stella is your partner, friend. Is that
Yep.
the
Girlfriend. Yep.
okay? Right. I wasn't sure. Okay. So she's also she is the right
Yep.
pronoun.
I
All
believe
right.
so.
So she's also a theater kid.
Yeah. I like to
Represent.
remind her about that all the time.
But yeah. And
She
so
also she actually made this beautiful shirt here. So I don't know who's really the best I don't know, the most productive member of society,
hmm,
or yeah, when it comes to education, because I don't know if you can like draw this like I
well, I mean, you want to make the world better from a systemic like perspective, but what's the
Mhm.
point of living if you can't have a shirt that's that has paint on it? So I
I
mean,
know, like with cats and planet, I don't really know. I think that that's really what gives purpose to life at the end of the day.
exactly.
So you need all of them, okay?
Hmm. So you're Swedish. We know this.
Hmm.
And what's your take on Sweden right now? How is it going
Um,
on politically?
oh boy, this is a
A very
fat
large
question.
question.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to Sweden as a whole, I would say that one of the largest things and one of the biggest issues we've had in Sweden that is responsible for a lot of the issues we find is just generally a lack of competency from governments and people in leadership positions. Like there are a whole range of fairly well, nothing's like apolitical, but fairly non-controversial, like policy proposals that could have been made and policies that could have been passed that would put us in such a better position right now, and in a position that wouldn't have the issues that we have right now with the rise of like far right-wing extremism and stuff like that. The biggest thing right now in regards to Sweden, the only thing anyone ever wants to talk about is immigration, and most of the like the solutions to immigration in Sweden are like so basic common sense, are such like integral parts of just general sociological and economic consensus on how to deal with these topics. But for some reason we just haven't seen these simple policy proposals enacted that would have quelled so much of the right-wing populism that we see right now in Sweden. So I think really Sweden right now, we need a lot more competency. And the reason why we need it is because through having a more like a stable and a country of that's doing better, it's going to be way harder for right-wing populists to really gain hold. And that is definitely one of the largest threats to Sweden going forward right now. So that's probably going to be the my major take on Sweden right now. We also have really good food and like kebab. So that's also important. But yeah.
But kebabs come from immigration, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. I don't know how anyone can oppose immigration when there's kebab. I mean, like, I think the case is pretty much open and shut there, to be honest. Like,
true.
Let's be real.
Got him. But so what you're saying, is it still like a social democracy right now? Would you describe it as that? Or is it kind of leaning more?
I think it's less social democratic than it was before. Exactly where one draws the line between social democracy and just like generally like left-leaning liberalism is fairly difficult. I would say we have seen a pretty significant reduction in things like, for example, like union membership and an increase in like wealth disparities overall in Sweden, which, you know, occurs all over the world. So we've definitely become less social democratic than we were before. But I mean, if we're going to make a pretty reasonable threshold, which is basically that we compare what countries are social democratic based on, you know, relatively where other countries of similar situations are, then I would say, yeah, we're one of the more social democratic nations, developed nations that exist right now. But yeah, there's certainly still a lot more progress that needs to be made there.
Is education pretty affordable right now?
Yeah, certainly. There are plenty of like most schools, like the vast majority of schools in Sweden are free to go to. And then there are some unis that charge fees, but for most of the, you know, the time, education here in Sweden is very affordable and very accessible. We do have pretty big issues with education that stem from the way it's structured. We have a very weird system of like an unholy sort of like marriage between charter schools and like public schools that ends up having the benefits of neither and just hurting, you know, the Swedish educational system a lot more. And that's one of the major things that definitely need to be done for Sweden right now to make it improve, because we're seeing such a massive cases of, for example, like school segregation taking place, of the differing qualities just expanding, of massive like inefficiencies when it comes from the state's ability to allocate resources towards education, that all stem from this the model of free schools or free schooler that we have right now in Sweden. So while it's affordable, it certainly is, but there's still a whole lot of work that needs to be done there, and we had a better educational system probably like a few decades ago. But yeah, that's my take on education.
Do you think it should be more expensive to fix those problems, or should money be taken from elsewhere?
Do you think it should be more? I think that like we definitely have the resources available right now to fix these issues. I think that the main issue that's happening right now is that the Swedish school budget is like literally bleeding, because how it works here in Sweden basically is that you have a bunch of private, you know, companies set up schools that are checked by the school inspection board to check that they're like fine and everything. Now, on that, there are like the requirements right now are a lot stricter than they were a few decades ago. Right now they're pretty decent, but before you had the creation of like religious extremist schools segregated by gender, schools with awful like learning conditions, yada yada, that were approved by this, and some of them are still in operation today. But at least, you know, there aren't the creation of new ones. So that's like the first step towards opening the school. And then what happens is that these private schools don't charge the students anything, but they receive X amount of money, so a set amount of money. There's not a lot of variation there, per student that attends their school. So what does this do? Well, it creates an incentive for these private corporations to all settle down in wealthy districts. And why do they want to do that? Because, well, wealthier kids of better socioeconomic condition, are on average going to consume less resources for equal educational attainment than kids in poor socioeconomic conditions, just by virtue of them having access to more resources. And as a result of that, these schools are able to extract the rest of that money in profits, basically. There's no cap on how much they can extract in profits. And on top of that, this also leads to things like them lying about the grades and exaggerating how good the grades are at their school to attract more people to come to their school so that they can extrapolate more money. But yeah, it's like an awful system full of perverse incentives where you are seeing all these like private corporations basically just steal money intended for educational programs here in Sweden, and sending them internationally. There was a particular case where like the largest owner of free schools here in Sweden used a bunch of the money she received to like fund Donald Trump's re-election campaign and like anti-abortion like organizations and stuff like that. So it's definitely one of the major problems that we have right now in education, and it can be solved by changing the profit motive and making sure that more of the money stays within Sweden.
So would you say about that profit motive, is it kind of a proof that social democracy can have flaws as far as, because it's still capitalist? Do you think it could be like better and still be social democracy, like something you'd be satisfied with, or socialism is like the way to go?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when it comes to education specifically, there are I personally advocate for going back to a completely public system of education, because that historically seems to be what like operates best for Sweden and what makes most sense. However, there are a bunch of reforms that can be made to the current system to make it a whole lot better. So things like, for example, tighter requirements on, them being set up, having like yearly inspections where some of these free schools can be shut down, most, notably the ones that were set up before these high requirements were in place, having caps on how much money a certain, one of these private firms can extract from, the money they receive from the government to educate these students. And also having like changing the way that the funding is given from just X amount per student to like a scaling amount depending on the average educational performance of kids at that school, or all things that you could do to make this a whole lot better. But yeah, that would be my eventual, like moving it towards a completely public system seems to be what's probably going to be best for the efficient allocation of resources in regards to that. But yeah, when it comes to the I'm a bit unsure what you mean about like socialism within education. Do you mean like overall for the economy as a whole, or are we referring to public ownership?
You mean the incentive to get profit? In my question, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you were explaining that these private institutions, like, they have an incentive to make money, so they've kind of fucked with the education system. So that was more like my question is because it's still capitalism, and I was wondering if you think whenever there's going to be capitalism, there's going to be like a moral like problem or a tendency to breed like bad tendencies to make profit over overall beneficial like decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say that the profit motive absolutely has no place within education. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it has positive effects on other less essential parts of the economy, which, when combined with proper regulations that adjust for the relevant market externalities, can lead to like effects and outcomes that, at least to my knowledge currently, greatly outclass that of a completely planned economy, for example.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So do you plan, you're going to study like sociology, do you plan to work in politics like in Sweden?
What my plan, I don't really have like a really long-term plan. I could definitely see myself engaging in politics at some point in my life, which is why I gotta be very careful right now when I stream to not say anything too controversial. But in the short term, my plan right now is just mostly to work on my YouTube stuff, and the dream is to be able to study in university and do this streaming YouTube in order to like make a living for myself while I do that. And then from there, given that I have the experience of public speaking, which I'm going to get from streaming like this, and also the education that I will have attained throughout doing that, I will be able to do some more like real life politics things, like running for office or doing stuff like that. And it would most likely be in Sweden then in that case. And yeah, the main worry I have about that is that I'm far better in English than I am in Swedish. So
Really?
that's I can speak Swedish, like it's perfectly fine, like it's completely like it makes sense. But I feel like a lot of, I suppose, what I like about the way I speak and my appeal is that I'm like fairly proficient in the English language, and that it makes it so much easier for me to formulate the way I'm conceptualizing things and the way I'm thinking about things if I'm more like fluent with the language, and I can describe what I'm thinking about far better. And yeah, I often run into when I'm having discussions in Swedish that I'm unable to communicate things as I would like, just by virtue of the language barrier. So I probably have to get a lot better at Swedish before I would feel like really comfortable in running for office in Sweden. But yeah.
Do you think in English?
I do think in English, yes.
Right, same. Because you probably can tell from my accent that English isn't my first language either. If you had to guess, do you know where I'm from? Did I say it in my email?
I don't believe so. Oof. Okay, let's see. This is really difficult. Some part of like Eastern Europe, maybe. I'm so bad at this.
No,
Eastern Europe somewhere?
I'm American, not from the United States, but from the continent of America.
Oh, is that supposed to help me?
You think I speak English, right? But I'm actually a French Canadian. I'm from Quebec.
Right. God, yeah, I should have gone that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm awful at like anything. I always get so stressed out whenever there are topics of like accents or like, oh, guess where I'm from or whatever comes up, because I'm awful at recognizing accents unless they're like super super obvious, and I am completely worthless when it comes to imitating accents and doing any of this sort. So I've kind of just like stayed away from that as much as possible. But yeah, now I've learned.
Yeah, what probably doesn't help is, what's your representation of Quebecer people like that speak in English? It's probably XQC or something like that.
Exactly, and it's debatable whether he even speaks English at this point. So
or French, like he's just all over the place.
He has his own language.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm gonna say, like, right now we're best friends. Can I say this? And and I'm gonna, as a friend. Mm-hmm. You say something all the time, and you're gonna maybe be mad right now because it's true, but you're gonna thank me later, all right? Because as a fellow like non-native English speaker, you love to see it. Like, I don't know if you know this. You say this every 3 minutes, and now it's gonna pop. And yeah, no, whenever you say it, you're gonna think of me. So I'm just being. It's just my advice. I mean, it's a nice phrase, I gotta say. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you love to see people giving me, feedback on my rhetoric.
You love to see it.
You love to see it.
So yeah, so you were talking about streaming and how that's kind of your foreseeable future. And do you make money right now from streaming?
I do. I make like I probably shouldn't talk about exactly how I make, but I make not enough to live off at all. I still live with my parents, and I've been like obviously saving up a lot of money. All the proceeds don't go to me. I have 2 people that I work with. I work with an editor, and I work with somebody who makes my thumbnails. Thumbnailer? I'm not sure. Thumbnail artist, maybe. Whatever the most respectful term for that is. And we work together on like Rosers as a channel and split the proceeds. But yeah, I do make money right now, certainly from YouTube ad revenue. I make nothing. YouTube is worthless. And I make some from Patreon, and then mostly from donations and subs to my website. But yeah. That's
you have a Patreon? I didn't even know. You should probably push it forward a little bit more.
Yeah, probably. The reason why I used to do it a lot more. And the reason why I did a lot more is because I posted like regularly, like every week or something on Patreon. And I just feel like because I become less active on Patreon, I think I published a video like last week, which was it was like after a long time. I just feel like I don't know, it doesn't feel right to advertise like a platform like Patreon if it's not something that I'm actively using. It just feels kind
Mhm.
of I don't know. Oh,
Yeah, I
right.
get that.
Mhm.
So do people like from around you, your friends, your classmates, your family know that you stream?
Yeah, definitely. My family knows, and a bunch of people from school know, and my friends know. Yeah.
Does that make you like popular in school?
Um, I think that live streaming and talking about politics 2 days a week is probably one of the least cool things you could
Mhm.
possibly do. It is kind of like I don't mind it really because I do think I've had like it's fun like this sort of like interaction or the way at least I perceive that I've shaped discussions of like politics in my class. Um, I'm frequently reminded of like how we used to be just like at the beginning of like the last school year, like when we began like our like high school or whatever. How there were all these people talking about like politics and so talking. A lot of people are incredibly right wing, especially like a lot of the guys, and they're very vocal about it as well. And I remember that every time they would say something, I would just like challenge them on it and da 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 da. And now like literally nobody talks about politics when I'm around anymore,
You're the
which is
king.
it's exactly, it's flattering, but it's also kind of boring. And I remember like one of the best examples of this would be in English class we were learning about like protests and stuff. We were discussing Black Lives Matter, and one of my teachers who is aware of my YouTube thing knew that I'd made a document of systemic racism before, and they're like, "Hey, this document might be useful for our unit or whatever." So I was asked to present it in my class, English class, and separate English class, basically. And I knew that in the other English class, there was a bunch of these right wing guys who would say dumb shit about Black Lives Matter all the time. Everything from like, "Oh, systemic racism is just human error," to a whole bunch of other crazy shit. So I buckled up when I was going to present it in for that class, and I did the thing, and I was like very like, "Hey, if anyone has any questions or concerns or contentions with anything I've said, just speak up and be sure to let me know." Everybody was fucking dead silent during that entire thing, and then when I left, I had a friend in that classroom. She told me afterwards that as soon as I left, they began saying dumb shit again. So it's
Mm,
it
classic.
is what it is. Exactly.
And so with your channel, do you have a particular like demographic that you're targeting? Because I remember you talking with Demon Mama maybe about
Mhm.
your .com, saying it was better than the .gg because you were
Exactly.
targeting the boomers. And are
Mhm.
you are you specifically targeting boomers or just everybody's? It's all open for to get more educated.
Yeah, I'm targeting as many people as possible. And yeah, the that's true what you said about the .com.dg things. If you go and speak to any person above the age of 30 and you're like, "Hey, roseris.gg," they're gonna write it like ROSEWRAST.GEEGEE. Like I don't trust the boomers to know how to spell these types of things. And yes, anyone above 30 is a boomer. But yeah, I just want to make
True.
it as accessible to as many different people as possible. And that's why I have like a pretty wide range of content, from like blood sporty debates to like learning from like very educated people and stuff, to going over videos, to researching. Yeah, I mean, most of the demographic is going to be young people just by virtue of like being on the internet and doing this type of like politics stuff. But yeah, I don't have like a specific demographic that I'm like zeroing in on really.
Do you have access to your YouTube like stats as far as like gender like separation goes? Do you know that if you're
I
popular with
do. Hold on, let me
ladies?
let me check this. Oof, this is the real test of time. No, I will not show it on screen, so I can.
Right.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Analytics. Let's see here. Oof, now I'm worried. All right. Is it engagement? Where do I find the audience? Come on. I have like a 90-10 split,
Oh
which
god
is
damn. Well, I
yeah.
mean it's YouTube. It's always going to be like
Hey, it's more than Jordan
pretty.
Peterson's at least. Okay,
Oof.
that's a low bar. And then most people are concentrated around almost exactly 50% are around 18 to 24, and then like 40%, 40 is around 25 to 34, and then it drops. I do have 0.1%, 55 to 64. So, you know,
Hmm.
that's good to know.
Talking about Jordan Peterson, do you think there's some things of value in what he says, or he's just a complete like gateway to the alt-right.
Yeah, I think when he talks about certain elements relating to psychology and self-improvement, he's fairly accurate with some of the stuff he says. When he steps even like 1 centimeter out of anything he has formal education on, including anything he says about politics or economics ever, he's a complete dumb fuck who should never be listened to. So it's very specific in regards to what he's talking about. But overall, for the things he's become most famous for, which is his political stuff, his commentary on social issues, he's absolutely had an aggregate negative effect on the internet, and I would say like the world as a whole in that specific regard.
Yeah, he's definitely a problem. I think we agree on this. That like
Mm-hmm.
he grabs attention by being correct on like psychology, and then people think whatever else he says is true.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about you do all sorts of content on your channel. Which is your preferred like content? Do you really enjoy debates or more like talks with experts or whatever? Like earlier you did like in the stream with
Oh,
Pismo,
that is
or memes like the banana like return to monkey thing.
exactly. Oh, that's a pretty. I haven't really like thought over the rankings like that. It really depends. Like I would say that the talks with more academic people are just like consistently really good. But then when it comes to debate, the debates can either be, please get me the fuck out of here, I don't want to be here, please, I would rather do anything else, I'd rather like watch like paint dry on my wall, just get me out, or I feel like an absolute god right now, please all like bow before me, or like it's a very like large range of like different perceptions or emotions that you might feel like during a debate. So the highs of debates are probably a lot higher than like the what the average is going to be, or what most or even like all possible more academic discussions are going to be. But academic discussions are always like consistently and on average like a fair bit above what debates typically are. So that would be my ranking of that.
And what about debate panels?
um this is it depends on
It
so
has to
I think
suck. I can't believe it's fun.
no, it's free shit. That's true. The good thing is that it's kind of sometimes it's funny. You get a few good memes out of it, but most of all, debate panels, nobody's really on there to have like a good debate or to have fun, or most of this. Well, to have fun maybe if you're just yelling at each other, but it's mostly just a really good way of being able to make people aware of who you are and to reach like a broader audience, and is a good like platform to speak on. But I believe that like well put together panels with not like 63 people speaking all over each other can be like fairly interesting. But yeah, overall panels are definitely a bit of a struggle when it comes to being able to like formulate your beliefs. Like I'm reminded of like it just becomes you like rattling off like 17 points whenever you have the time to speak, and then none of them being addressed ever. But yeah, panels are an overrated format, I would say.
There's a bit of a debate on Twitter, or kind of a discussion, and I don't want you to like destroy your bridges, but
Mhm.
would you say, which team are you? Are you a hippy dippy panel debate panel, or
Uh-huh.
are you prime K's debate panel?
All right, here's the thing. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but Dylan has been like fucking ghosting me now for like half a year. I don't know what's
Real talk,
I
that
sent him like
sucks.
2 emails. I sent him a Twitter DM. I've been on the Discord on the application thing or whatever, and I haven't gotten a follow up since then. So I don't really have much experience on the hippy dippy panels. I would love to have some, but what can I say? And I'm sorry, Dylan. I'm sorry to the hippy dippy crew, but I mean, I don't have a representative sample size from your side, so I'm left to say, with 100% certainty, it's gonna have to be prime case, right?
Well, I mean, he's been going through some stuff, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. So maybe it has to do with that. But it
Maybe.
sucks because you're both really good, like progressive content creators. I think there'd be value in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and because I don't really watch these panels because they're so boring and so long. They last like 10 hours. I just
Yeah.
watch the memes that come out of them, like just Vosh
Mhm.
saying, well, "It's rough out there being a dumb fuck." But yeah.
Exactly.
Mm, so yeah, I hear that Prime Case is kind of biased and kind of jumps in the debates. What has your experience been with that?
I think it's often really challenging, and there's a lot of like possible like difficulties and conflicting interests that can come with somebody filling both the role of like a debater and also the role of a moderator. So I feel like there are ways where this can be done well. Like this is something that I will absolutely, from what I've seen, give Dylan Burns and the Hippie Dippy podcast good word for, which is that Dylan does a very good balance of being strong with the moderation, but also if he has thoughts, if he has something he has to express, he formulates questions for each side of the argument, and levies them at both, and then pushes a little bit on both of them as like a little bit of rebuttal, but then at the end of the day he won't go super hard into it and he will stay detached to some extent. And I think that's a lot of the golden balance that comes with doing something that is very difficult, like debating and moderating at once. Which, yeah, especially if you're doing like panels for like like every day of the week for hours and hours and hours on end, you're gonna end up with a lot of like moments that get clipped, where the combination of like debater and moderator sort of form an unholy trinity, and there's some clippable material to be had.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I don't hate Prime. He has some good content, and I love that he's hosting these big debate panels, and it's
Mhm.
all like networking for you all. So that's great.
Mhm.
And talking about like debates, have you seen Sean's tweet like recently about debates and their
Yeah,
productivity?
I did
What
see
are
that.
your thoughts on that?
Um, I think this is a lot like, oh, my content versus your content. It kind of feels like it boils down to that. I think like at the end of the day, it's just really like pointless. Like we need diversity of tactics. Any political movement needs it. And what he would have to do to prove the case that these things, these panels like are a thing that we should stop, he would have to make the argument that not only are they not contributing anything to like convincing people or whatever, which is an insanely hard argument to make. Just if you look at the general spirit and the attitudes towards these debates, and all people saying that, oh, Destiny or Bosch or whoever really like made me reevaluate my positions and made me start moving left. That seems like a very difficult argument to make. And then he would also have to make the argument that there is like an active harm perpetuated by it, because it would be impossible for him to make the argument that this isn't like contributing anything of value. So it sort of implicitly suggests that he believes there's some form of like strong harm perpetrated by them that outweighs the benefits from it, which I haven't heard him make many arguments from that other than it's toxic lol. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just an unnecessary treat, really. It doesn't really contribute anything of value, and I think the sentiment it expresses is, I don't know, it's just, I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, let's make a smooth transition. I'm not saying it's related to Sean, but like when you were talking with Fanatic, you were talking about dumb fuck leftists,
Mhm.
and
That was a real smooth transition.
no, I like Sean's content. I'm just kidding. Um, but you were talking about that and how it's very a very bad like representation of leftist values, and there's all the tankies and all that stuff. And it reminded me of, I don't know if you know who Ezra Klein is, like the journalist from Vox, the founder of Vox, I think, or something.
What was the name? Sorry.
Ezra Klein.
No, I've not heard their name.
He has a podcast, the Ezra Klein Show, and he was talking with someone else that said that political hobbyists are the problem in the today's day and age, and it kind
Hmm.
of relates to people that just do it because it's trendy and whatever. And I was curious if you, what are your thoughts? Should people that don't know so much about sociology, like history, give their opinions so much, or have so much of a platform, or what are your
I
thoughts on
think,
this?
yeah, I think it's absolutely an impossible task to regulate it. I can see benefits and negatives with both. Negatives obviously being spread of misinformation, positives being that you get more of a view into what and like, so to say, like average or everyday person's view on this topic might be, and the way that they might rationalize their thought processes, so it can prove of value to the more serious political commentators. On top of that, I can also identify some like counterweights to the analysis and the examples you talked about. So, for example, if there is someone who is really like not very knowledgeable at all or like really interested in the topics, then it's going to be harder on average for a person like that to seek internet or to gain internet prominence than it is for
Provenance.
one who
Oh, prominence. I get you. My bad.
oh, there we go. Than it is for somebody who is more like well read and more well educated on the topic, but it undoubtedly still happens. Like the entire skeptosphere of these YouTubers, just like completely contradict my point there. But I think generally the best things that could be done here is calling out people that are just aren't educated on the topic and are spreading misinformation, and encouraging people to have more like well thought out critical thinking skills and analytical skills, and well thought out like methods of being able to integrate and create new beliefs for themselves. And that's really the only way we can address this as a like from a like a systemic level. But yeah.
So yeah, so relating to that, so there's millions of these people that don't really know much about politics, and I'm curious to know, do you think with this like electoral system that we're gonna achieve someday in our like Zoomer lifetime, socialism or something close to it, with so many people thinking that it's the USSR?
I'm optimistic towards the propagation of left-wing ideas generally in society as a whole. I think that it's impossible to say. Like the best thing to say for me, possibly, and I think the most reasonable way to have these conversations of possible political progress during a period of time would be to sort of like identify the spectrum of where we could land during this time. And I think that we could probably land anywhere from like actual examples of like neo-fascist authoritarian states towards probably furthest to the left a significant level of like market socialism being implemented in society as a whole, and having a wide propagation of cooperative firms and having more sectors of the economy be like nationalized or planned than currently exists. So that would be kind of like the range you could identify there. So obviously when you like sort of take like an entire political spectrum into mind, the potential for right-wing ideas and their severity is a lot larger than that of left-wing ideas. But this is just this is by virtue of like what those types of ideas are, and they sort of fuel underlying them. Fascism just tends to really get incredible jump starts from situations of like poor socioeconomic conditions and other forms of like conflicting geopolitical and socioeconomic pressures on a given voter base and on a given country's political processes. And when it comes to like the more like leftist progressive ways of reform and political change, they seem to come a lot more gradually typically, and aren't these like massive revolutionary like paradigm shifts really. That tend to occur. They have happened sometimes, but they sort of like massive revolutionary quick paradigm shifts in regards to leftism have typically not really held up in the long term, and have at the end of the day maybe contributed more to more authoritarian and more reactionary tendencies at the end of the day.
And what are steps that you think would be valuable right now, like more cultural, like culture war things, or more like political policy wise? What should we focus on right now? I know we should do both, but what's an emergency right now?
I think definitely, like if I had the option between strong political policy and like just winning the culture war, I would easily pick strong economic policy. I believe that a lot of people political beliefs falls from the economic condition that they're at, and things like, for example, making people more educated about worker cooperatives, about worker ownership as a mode of production. About the benefits that come with like having more regulated economies to control for market externalities in general is just going to move the paradigm a lot more to the left. And what that might do is it might include now more ideas that may be really good from a like an optical perspective and from a political efficacy perspective, that right now are just outside the paradigm of of the like the Overton window as it exists today. So definitely probably work towards economic policies that are more progressive and are more, in a lot of the cases of countries right now, a lot more social democratic than they currently are. And then from there really sort of like reframe the way we look at economics in general and the type of solutions that we deem could be like realistic or possible.
And I'm not full on politically engaged like you are. I know a little bit. I consume content, but I'm curious.
Mhm.
Would it require like a collaboration between many countries to have a good like socialist system like running and working properly to avoid like economic like falls or whatever?
Um, so right now, I feel that we're definitely not in a position currently to really like push for like socialism in its entirety. So both worker ownership and the abolition of the commodity form just seems so far outside what's realistically feasible right now. That's not really something I concern myself a lot with, or I think about a lot in that way. In the same way that if somebody asks me, oh, are you like a worker syndicalist or an eco-anarchist or a mutualist or whatever, I don't know what any of these fucking words mean. And I just kind of move on because I'm more concerned in what's like, what would be the next step in that regard. And I feel like right now, if I were to make extremely broad prescriptions as for how I would like to see our economy improve, it would be three steps of stuff. Number one, make more regulation, get rid of a lot of the awful market externalities. Yeah, wait, what are they called? Are they called market externalities? Yeah, they're called market externalities, right? Yeah, I think so. Oof. My brain just had a bit of a moment. Get rid of as many market externalities as we can, most presciently, the one of climate change. That's number one, better regulation. Number two would be an increase in the prevalence of international cooperation in things like the United Nations, in things like the European Union, in things like NATO, for example, in connection with a reform of a lot of those international coalitions, because a lot of them right now have so many different issues that need to be changed. So my sort of prescription on international politics and those unions is reform and recruit. So reform it as much as possible, and also try to recruit as many people into it, because it will make trade better, and it will also, through the imposition of multilateral trade agreements, allow us to put forward suggestions like, hey, the only way you're going to be able to be part of this union, the only way you're going to be able to trade with us, is if you enact workers' rights bills ABC, environmental protection bills ABC, taxation bills ABC, social whatever. And through there you can push like a more like political, more progressive political agenda on the world as at large, which will make the world a better place. That's suggestion number two. And number three, generally invest and improve and encourage the prevalence of worker ownership as a mode of production in general. So have more education on worker cooperatives, have people like recognize that as a viable option at all, have things like, for example, like preferential loans maybe given to cooperatives, build up a bigger data set on how they perform in the economy at large, get rid of a lot of the cultural and even sometimes financial stigma around worker cooperatives, experiment with different models of worker cooperatives. And yeah, those in the short term that we can work towards today are the three main things I would say would lead to a better economy and a better world overall.
Based and are you familiar with like Destiny's point of view regarding socialism?
Yep.
So,
Certainly.
so yesterday, I don't know if you saw that, Xander Hall went on Destiny's stream to talk about his debate with Lauren Southern,
Mhm.
and uh, right, right from the bath, right off the bath, the bat. Destiny asked him, "Are you a socialist? Do you have socialist tendencies? If so, you're a dumb fuck." So he's really not willing at all to discuss these things, and I'm curious, what would you tell him, or what would you discuss with him to try and move him over?
Oof, okay. All right. So there's a lot to talk about on
Mhm.
the DQ, okay? The destiny question. Um, I feel that right now I 100% understand the direction that Destiny's coming from with all of these things. I do think 100% that one of his greatest like shortcomings when it comes to being able to engage with politics overall is his outright just dismissal of a lot of like lefties and socialist people. And I do understand 100% that the vast majority of socialists and leftists that he's talking about and that he's debated are absolute like dumb fucks, and that do not deserve a platform, and that don't understand how to form like coherent thoughts and coherent models in their mind, and are very heavily utilizing motivated reasoning. However, when it comes to, you know, like socialism, as like people who hold the belief of socialism, there are, I would like to think, like extraordinary intelligent people and pragmatic people who identify themselves as socialists, who definitely are people that Destiny could have productive discussions with, and that they can work together on common goals with. It just feels like the range of like if you talk about the range of people who identify as fascists or fascists, it's like if we have like the political coherence, like what's it called, like spectrum from like what are taxes to what's the best form of multilateral trade agreement model that we can ensure that an equal or whatever, I feel like fascists typically fall like here, like all of them. Liberals fare a bit better here, like somewhere here. And then socialists are like here. They're the entire spectrum. You can get literally anything from talking to a socialist. So I feel it's pretty difficult to generalize, and it might be harmful to generalize to the extent that he's doing a lot more now when it comes to how he treats socialists. But to some extent, given his personal experience discussing with these people, I understand it. When it comes to, I guess, my potential engagement with Destiny and how that might work, when it comes to the three suggestions I laid out right before this, I don't think he would take issue with any one of these. He's very, very much in favor of international trade and customs unions. He's very much in favor of like regulations on, like market externalities and stuff like that. He's also said multiple times during his discussions about like socialism and stuff like that he is in favor and interested in seeing how cooperatives perform and want to encourage their development and want to see how they work more broadly for him to be able to form like a large opinion about whether or not he wants it to be like mandated or for it to be like the norm when it comes to creating businesses. So as an extension of this, and because I'm focused on the pragmatic aspect of things, because he shares shares my ambitions on those 3 points perfectly, I don't see an issue with those types of like anti-socialist beliefs he has at all, in the short term at all. And I feel like, taking his beliefs on like, so if we look at like where we are now, and then this is like kind of like what's realistically feasible here, and like a lot of lefties and Destiny are like step in step here, and then here they differ a lot. When where you might end up here depends heavily on how this part goes here. This feels incredibly like counterproductive and anti-pragmatic. So yeah, that's my general thing. I think it's dangerous or it's not dangerous, but it's probably not a great tendency what Destiny's doing right now, how he might just instantly dismiss a lot of socialists. However, given his experience, I might understand why he personally may have cultivated that belief. But when it comes to like what I think of him as a political actor, and like working together, whatever, for common goals, I think we share the same 3 goals that I laid out forth. And as such, I definitely don't see an issue with him. And I think that the potential for good for Destiny's advocacy far, far, far outweighs the any potential negative in the long term. But yeah.
Cool.
That was my DQ take.
Yeah, very thoughtful, and like you covered everything, all the ground. I'm satisfied, and I pretty much agree.
Wonderful.
So, talking about Destiny, how long have you been like politically engaged in like watching streamers or whatever?
I remember I started watching Destiny first, and then and after that I started watching Vosh a lot more. And then I watch. I think I watched like, and I watched like a balance of like Destiny and Bosch. Those have always been like the 2 major political commentators for me.
The dads.
When it exactly, that's how it is. And I would also characterize myself as somewhere in between Bosch and Destiny. So what can I say? I'm the love child of the.
Wait, what do you mean? Okay, you're not in the relationship. Great, good to hear.
No, I mean I would say that like I'm not quite as far left when it comes to a lot of the things that Vosh says when it comes to, because he has done the things that I don't really have an interest in doing right now, which is think about the more long-term thing, like what type of anarchist am I, and the potential for like a revolution far in the future, and effects of that. His takes on, for example, guns is one of the major things that separates the 2 of us. So he's a lot further left than I am. And then when it comes to to Destiny, I obviously have more sympathetic views towards worker ownership as a means by which to run an economy as a whole, and that would make me more left leaning. So I would say I'm kind of like in between the two
So
of them.
what you're saying is that you're the dream. Is that what
That's
do I
exactly
understand
what
it
I'm saying.
correctly?
That is precisely. I am the enlightened centrist here, in between
Wow.
the two radicals. Okay, radical rightist Destiny and radical leftist Big Ian, and I'm right in the middle there. But yeah, when it comes to how like when I started engaging in online politics, I think I would say like 3 years ago is when I started engaging with like the more live stream format and the things that have been most influential for me. So like Destiny, Vosh, yada yada, mostly Destiny first. And then previous to that, it was a lot of video essays. It was a lot of Sean. It was a lot of ContraPoints. It was a lot of Three Arrows. It was a lot of H Bomber Guy. It was a lot of like the more video essays type. And yeah, since then I've gone more towards like the live streamer side of things. But I still watch a lot of these video essayists because a lot of them are really good and produce really good content. But just by virtue of the fact that these streamers can release like up to 2 videos a day, and these essays, it takes like months to make videos sometimes. The distribution between how much I engage in the different types of content is there's a pretty big discrepancy there. But yeah, that's why. So like 3 years for live stream, and then maybe like four for general like online political content.
Did you ever have a more like right wing or culturally right wing phase when you were younger?
Yeah, yeah. It was always like it was definitely on the more cultural side of things. I knew that like my parents are like generally like fairly left leaning. I would probably characterize them as like social democrats. And as a result of this, I've always had just like an instinctual, not instinctual, but like a typically like positive reaction towards like leftists or like lefty progressive economic systems as a whole, and pointing out the issues of like capitalism and stuff like that. So when it came to a lot of the socialism dumb 100 million Vuvuzuela iPhone arguments, like those, I was never really susceptible to those. I just didn't really concern myself with economics at all. I just kind of like shut that out. I don't care. But I was very much a dunk on them SJWs gamer bro person. Like how long ago? Yeah, like probably like 4 years ago, around 5 years ago. It was like I remember probably my most viewed YouTuber was like Leafy is here.
Oh God.
And I used to watch him quite a bit. And then I had like this cultural right wing phase, and then it was like my sort of like wake up thing with that was that I think I fell down the pipeline too quickly because I consumed when I was in Spain. I had like no fucking friends. Okay, I didn't do. When I was done with school, I went home. I played video games and I looked at YouTube videos. Okay, and I like some people just like slip down the pipeline. I fucking speed ran that shit. Okay, so I went in there and I started with the SUW cringe compilations. Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Stefan Molyneux, a bit weird. Wow. Richard Spencer. I was like, hold up a second. And I remember when I was watching through all these videos, somebody, I think it was a Stefan Molyneux video. He said something that was just so outlandish to me. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it had something to do with like I'm not sure if it was like things relating to like the role of like men and women in society or something of the sort. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I was like, holy shit, wait, where the fuck am I? And then what I started doing is I was like, hold on. If he's saying stuff like this, which I just know isn't true, what else is going on? And then what I did is I just Googled a lot of the things that were mentioned in the video and a lot of the concepts they talked about. And I was like, hold on, this doesn't make any sense. And then I took a few steps back. I was like, okay, this Molyneux, I don't know, maybe I'll just go back to, to Mr. Shapiro. Let's see what he has to say. And then I was like, I should probably like check these things as well. Because how quickly I went down and I checked a bunch of stuff there. I was like, hold on, there's a bunch of issues with this as well. Exactly. And then through my research, I encountered more like lefty video essayists. And then I basically I call it the political bungee jump. Okay, so I jump down and I go real far down, and then I just fucking shoot straight upwards into
Quick
the
dip.
ascended realm of base political opinions. So yeah.
Yeah, I think every like 16-year-old, but well, actually, you were younger, but like
Mm,
14-year-old, like 2016, white boy went through this phase.
exactly.
hmm And so, as we were talking about Leafy and all these like edgy creators, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Are you familiar with Too Mad?
hmm
And what are your like just surface level thoughts on Too Mad?
Um, I've watched like three Too Mad videos. I remember one where he was like selling N-word passes. Um, then there's the classic, the sorry we didn't get a Skype tonight, girl. It's all
Mhm.
right. Talk to you tomorrow. And then he just goes. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Except and then I watched like one where he just like joins random Zoom classes. He seems fairly obnoxious. Like he's just disrupting all these kids' education. And as a fellow, as a passionate academic, I cannot
Nerd.
I cannot tolerate this behavior. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have like a super well formulated opinion. I think there's a bunch of problematic things within like his type of comedy, but I don't think he's like especially bad or especially different to just like general like comedy channels and stuff like that on YouTube. At least to my knowledge, I may be completely wrong, but I just haven't engaged in a lot of content from them. So
Yeah, I think he's super funny, but he drops the R word like just like it's nothing. And so
yeah.
I'm curious, like I think Vash has talked about this before, like
Mhm.
how um how much do we let this slide to let them enter the left wing like sphere to not like
Mhm.
put them off and things. And I'm curious, should we cancel anyone that says like the R word in the last couple of months, like and now isn't saying it anymore? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Um, I think the most important things when it comes to whether or not somebody should be like accepted as a member of the left would be like, okay, has this person like indicated an understanding for why X given thing was incorrect? And no, this isn't just like I have made a severe and continuous lapse in judgment, and just like the standard YouTube apology copy pasted.
Mhm.
There has to be some like greater level of like acknowledgement there. No, donating to charities doesn't count. There needs to be some level of like recognizing that you have sort of like mentally gone through the thought process and understood the issues with stuff like that, which is very difficult to prove. But it's typically something that comes with some degree of like time when it comes to stuff like this. Most of all, though, the main concern would just probably be that do we feel comfortable and do we feel confident that they will not engage in like this type of behavior again? Has this person been like reformed? Have they met the standard of rehabilitation? And if we believe so, if we believe like within reasonable doubt that they will not end up doing this type of problematic behavior again, yeah, sure, let them in. But it's often a lot on a case by case basis. So you might have somebody like you gave the example of somebody within like a couple of months. If you have somebody who like 4 months ago accidentally like let the R word slip during a heated gaming moment because they it was part of their vocabulary like a lot previously and it's not really like there anymore, then I mean there's obviously going to be different standard for that person compared to somebody who just like throws it out over and over and over and just like discredits any sort of criticism levied at them for doing that type of thing. So it's very much a case by case basis when it comes for stuff like that. But yeah, very much in favor of rehabilitative justice when it comes to just stuff like that. And things, the most important things are, do we believe this person has recognized why the thing was problematic in itself and they're not just saying so because they wish to get back into whatever sphere they were in before, and do we believe that they might do it again? And if those two things are like, if the answers to those things are satisfactory, then yeah, sure, let's uncancel them or whatever.
And this is going to be a complex question, but what is the like the line of where ableism stops? Because we always make fun of people for their intelligence and their cognitive capabilities, and it's kind of biological, or it comes from their surroundings. So we can never really blame anyone, but we do it all the time. And I'm curious, where does the line stop? What are your thoughts just in general, maybe just in insight on this?
Mhm. I think ableism is probably the least talked about sort of axis of oppression within intersectional analysis, at least on in the online sphere, and it's something that should absolutely be done a lot more. I think that in regards to what is pragmatic to take the fight against, people always say that, oh, what about stupid? Can we not use that as a word or whatever? I think it has to do with a lot. What is generally accepted within the current like cultural paradigm or whatever, how long ingrained that given thing is, how often it's used, by whom, yada yada yada. So things like, for example, the prevalence of people using like autistic to describe something that they didn't like, or that was, yeah, or whatever, using it in a derogatory way. That's something that absolutely should take a strong stance against, because it's like on its face, it's very bad, because that word is still used today to in context surrounding like ableism and neurodivergency and stuff like that. And number two, it's a fairly recent, sort of like development. It's a fairly recent term, and it's a fairly recent, way of insulting people, and as such, there's less of like a cultural ingraining for that term, so it's going to be easier to get rid of it. So things like, for example, that using the term autistic in a derogatory way should go really hard on that, because there's no reason really not to. When it comes to terms like, for example, like stupid, let's say, and other more like niche terms, I suppose that especially if we're talking about only terms here in this situation, then I think if we make more progress, it's generally become more progressive culturally, we might one day be in a position where you can actually have a discussion about, hey, this word, what should we do about it? But right now we're not in that specific point with the word stupid, for example, given its common use, given its cultural ingrainment, and given how long it's been part of society as a whole. So yeah, that's my take on like ableist language, I suppose.
And do you think if we ever get to be in a very progressive, like everyone understands like how race affects nothing, or how whatever, nothing affects nothing about making someone else being less than you are.
Mhm.
And do you think it would be possible in such a society to drop any word like at all, like that we can't right now because it's contextual, or is it? Yeah.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this?
That is an interesting question. I'm going to think about that for a second. I mean, it would be, this is like a question that, and like the reason why I have to think about this now is because it's not like a question that's really like, I suppose, like organically arise for me through my engagement with these topics, because it seems like very far off in the future. But I do think that, I mean, words at the end of the day, they don't really have any objective meaning. They don't like communicate like it's not like the sound waves of someone uttering a set of syllables, hurts somebody on a like emotional level or makes them feel pain or stuff like that. And as such, I mean, given a complete radical shift in the way we as a society and culturally understand pretty much everything, then yeah, maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like a set of syllables. And if the meaning is completely and radically different than what it is today, then yeah, I can like hypothetically conceive of a reality in which those words could be used without any like broader context or without any broader weight behind them. But yeah, it's a fairly like niche, I suppose, hypothetical.
That probably won't happen. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I get you. And so we were talking just a little bit earlier. How much time you got on your hands?
We can keep going. This is fun.
Epic. So you were talking about watching Destiny, and I think you mentioned this. I don't know. I watched like a couple of recent stuff like today to prepare for this, especially,
Mhm.
and you talked about watching pretty much only political content.
Mhm.
Is that true?
Yeah, I like occasionally I watch a few like gaming videos or whatever, but yeah, like the vast majority of all my media consumption is political.
So movies, TV
Mhm.
show.
Yeah, I still watch those like relatively frequently, but it pales in comparison with how much time I spend being like terminally online politically engaged. But yeah.
Do you read anything that's not political?
Um,
or even political? Are you a reader?
I like reading. Reading is fun. When it comes to like books, I especially like a few years ago, I used to be like uh, in Swedish, it's called like a book eater. Yeah, I just like go through books and book and book. I liked reading like fantasy books, storybook, fiction books. I found that really enjoyable. And then I've really like taken a hard turn towards what's it called? Um, Towards like nonfiction stuff and more like academic stuff like that. But most of the things I read are still going to be political. There's another thing which stems back to the thing I said a while back, um, in regards to me not being able to like I can't like handle me being like not great or like not as good as I could be on a certain thing. Like when I start a new video game or just anything of the sort, I will probably do more research about that game and what like the optimal strats are and the best character and the stat combinations than I will actually playing the game, because I do just like a completely just incessant amount of reading for these types of things. So occasionally, depending on if I start a new game, then maybe there's a bit of a balance there between me reading what the optimal like stat combinations are in whatever new game that I'm playing. But yeah, that's my reading stuff.
So whenever you watch things like SpongeBob, you're like, who's the mayor of this city? I need to know
Exactly,
what's the
that's how
political
it is.
system.
What's the political implications of SpongeBob living in a pineapple?
Can everybody afford a pineapple house?
Exactly. I mean, the I don't fuck, you want to know a secret?
Go ahead.
I've never watched SpongeBob.
Well, I mean, I kind of anticipated that because you only watch political things, so I'm guessing that SpongeBob is probably not your forte.
Yeah, exactly. If you kick me from the call right now, I wouldn't be. I will understand. Okay, I've had a lot of people express intense discontent at me not having watched SpongeBob. But yeah.
So, apart from the fact that you didn't watch SpongeBob,
Mhm.
you're saying that you went to a couple of school, you went to Spain, you went to Singapore. Like,
Yep.
what the fuck was your childhood like? Why? I
um,
mean, yeah, I think that's because you don't want to talk about your dad's job because he's in the KGB or something. But yeah, but yeah, can you talk about anything
Yeah,
related?
I can definitely talk about it. So yeah, because of my dad's job, we have moved around a bunch, all around the world. I was born in Sweden, then we moved to Denmark, then we moved to Belgium, then we moved to Singapore, then we moved to Spain, and then we moved to Sweden.
God damn.
And even within those countries, um, I've also like switched schools on multiple occasions. I think right now I'm on my ninth or tenth school that I've been to. So yeah, part of that has definitely been like integrating myself into new schools and getting to know a bunch of people. And there are positives and negatives to it. Positives is that like negatives are more easy to negatives, you lose all your friends basically. You start out from scratch, Positives are that I get better at like socializing and integrating myself into social spaces, because I've been kind of like forced to do so on multiple occasions. And also, when you're a kid, you do a lot of cringy shit, and when you move away, that is all gone. So that's another thing that's pretty
Blank
nice.
slate.
Exactly.
And do they speak Cantonese in Singapore? I don't remember. Or is it Mandarin?
They speak Mandarin. They speak a version of English called Singlish, which is basically English, but there are a bunch of there's a few different like grammatical structures and a bunch of different words and phrases which are added to it. One of the most like iconic ones that you will find is the addition of the phrase "la" at like the end of almost every sentence. Um, so yeah, LAH,
Do you
and
mean to like English words or sentence?
yeah, just at the end of a sentence, you will just they'll throw in a law in there, and it's it makes the sentence flow pretty nicely. So I don't have a problem with it. But yeah,
That sounds a lot like what we do here. We have this like we end all of our sentences with le. It's la, but pronounced with the Quebecer accent because we're kind of fucked. But
a self-hating
no,
Quebecer.
just kidding. I love my language. But can you speak a little bit of Singlish or whatever it's
Oh no, I used to be able to, but I haven't touched it since I moved from Singapore,
called?
at all. I also it's if I do a bad job, then Oh boy, it might sound pretty problematic. So I'm
So
gonna
it
try not
doesn't
to.
count in your fluent languages.
It does not count in my fluent language.
But you speak Spanish fairly well. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I would say like when it comes to speaking, I speak. I think I what's like the barrier for fluid? Like I think if you like drop me in Spain and you just like drop me there and be like survive, I could do it, like fairly easily. I can easily communicate with people and express the things that I want to say to them. So yeah, I can speak Spanish absolutely.
And do you speak anything else?
Um, I speak English, Swedish, Spanish, and je peux parler un petit peu de français aussi.
Like how
Um,
much?
uh,
Could you survive on your own in the middle of Paris?
that's a different question. I think I can understand French. When it comes to being able to speak it, it's helpful that I know Spanish. There's a lot of like similarities there to some extent, but not nearly as well as I speak Spanish. But yeah, I understand some of it. Yeah.
And you speak facts, if I'm not wrong, too.
Always
Always.
speaking facts.
Can you? I don't think I've ever heard you speak in Swedish. Can you rap in Swedish for me right now?
Okay, Swedish rap is garbage. Okay, there's not a single instance of
Give
Swedish
me,
rap. It's
give me Swedish rap right now.
God damn it. I don't know any Swedish rap songs. As I said, I only do politics. Fuck. Swedish rap.
But I mean,
Let's see
just
if I can find a song.
throw words, even if it doesn't make sense. I won't know.
Oh, God damn it. I even put on the spot. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna think of just like a few rhymes. Fuck, you should have told me this beforehand. You're gonna make me rap in Swedish. God damn it. Okay.
Go for it.
Uh, this moment that I'm in right now, I'm in more like anguish and in more, what's it called? More despair and more nerves than I've ever had in any
Just
debates
to
ever.
calm you down, I'm gonna tell you your girlfriend is watching.
God damn it. I can't. Okay, hold on. Wait, what happened? My screen just died. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out a notepad. I'm gonna write. I'll write 4 bars and then I'll hit you with them at the end. Okay.
Pog.
All right. I want to die. Okay, let's keep going. Can't believe you putting the pressure on me like this. Holy
This
shit.
is like debating. You just fast thinking and throwing words and convincing people with rhetoric.
I swear to God. And half of Swedish rap is just people doing it in English as well. Like there aren't enough Swedish words in the Swedish lexicon. Like people just like shift to English. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, oh, okay. I'll write something. I hate this. Okay, next question. God damn it.
Next question.
I'll keep writing that stuff.
All right. So what else did I want to ask you? I think we've covered most of the ground. Or maybe like, so you're a sharp fella. So what would you say is the meaning of life?
God damn it. Okay. I think the meaning of life is literally to do like whatever you fills your I can't speak. My mind is broken. God damn it, that last question broke me. Okay.
1 minute for the rap.
Exactly. Holy shit. I think the purpose of life is to live in accordance with what you believe is just and what your principles are, and doing what you find enjoyable and having a life where at the end of it you would believe that you've developed as a person, and I would like to think at least that you left the world in a bit of a better shape than you arrived in it in. But yeah, that's my personal subjective opinion on the meaning of life. But yeah, that I don't know what the objective meaning of life is. What about you, Felix? I'm gonna turn the tables on you now. Okay, give me the meaning of life. All right, you knew about this question, so you should have thought about this a little bit. Okay.
So I think it's my last video up on my channel where I was just reading monkey quotes like from TikTok and like wisdom from monkeys. I don't know if you've ever seen this type of content. And I would try to find meaning in monkey wisdom. And one of them, I don't remember what was the exact quote, but I ended up like babbling about Buddhism. And
Are you a Buddhist or?
No, I'm not the Buddhist. I'm studying Buddhism right now in university, but I'm no like scholar or anything. Like it's fairly new. And there's this kind of belief in the Tibetan Buddhist world where you, the ultimate truth, like, is that everything is empty. Like everything, it's hard to express with words, but things make sense together. And when we live in to achieve the truth, you need to understand that nothing matters, and that's kind of like enlightenment and things like this that you achieve through meditation and whatnot. And but you need to understand that you live in like this relative world where things affect you and they have meaning to you. Like they don't have ultimate like objective meaning, but since they affect you, they have meaning. So you need to navigate through that to facilitate your understanding that nothing is that big of a deal. Like so I give you that. But this is going to be my plug. If you want to know the rest of the answers to that question, go over to my channel and we go over monkey wisdom. So it's a fucking mess, that video.
Oh yeah, I looked at your channel before this, and I think actually it's pure chaotic energy, and I love it. Yeah. I'm actually going to play the first 30 seconds of.
Don't kill the characters.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna play the first 30 seconds of exactly, because it's a really beautiful video. I just want to let my audience know here.
Thank you so much.
What's going on here? This is the type of beautiful content you can expect.
Literally the preview on the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi everybody, I'm Felix Pants, and today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Hey Siri, what's the weather like today?
Eat my ass, fucker.
I hate women!
It's probably the most beautiful beginning to a video I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoy this.
Yeah, it's kind of an excuse for me to just practice like editing, because I don't have the opportunity to anymore because I don't study like in film anymore. So I just do my YouTube to like do research about subjects that I want to learn about, and I just practice my like editing skills. So it's really just fun. I don't know how big it's going to get or how often I'm going to do this, but I have a fun project coming up after like the end of the semester. So I don't know when that's going to drop. What are you looking at?
I am opening my lines. Yeah. Oh, I hate this so much. This brings me pain. Okay, I have 3 lines. I just need to connect the 4th one. I can't believe you're making me do this. God damn it. I rapped like a couple times on stream, like I don't know, almost half a year ago now. And since then I'm like, okay, I'm moving away from this stuff. But you're bringing
the sequel, the anticipated sequel.
Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. I hate this dude. Oh, all right, I got it. Okay.
Everybody's ready?
No, nobody's ready. Oh, fuck. I can't even rehearse it now.
What's the emote? The Peppo, like vibey Peppo? It's
all right.
DJ Peppo. Everybody be DJ and Peppo.
No, fucking DJ Peppoing. Okay, I swear to God. All right, I'll fucking do it. All right. The good thing is that in Swedish, so there's only going to be like 3 people in my audience that will understand this. Fuck, I hate this so much. It's giving me anxiety. Okay. Okay. Jag är på podcast, snacka med Felix. Om någon hade ett beat får jag göra en remix. Rimmen är svaga, jag vill egentligen inte prata. Mina gardiner är lika svarta som en skata. I wanna die, dude. I hate this.
God damn. A true inspiration.
No.
Rose wrist, thank you so much for coming on. You've been so generous with your rapping skills, your time, your answers. It was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, but then you made me do this final part. So, oh boy, do you want to know what the lyrics were?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
This is some deep lyrical shit. Okay, I'm on a podcast talking with Felix. If somebody adds a beat, I'm gonna have to make a remix. My rhymes are weak. I don't really want to speak. It fucking rhymes in English as well. Holy shit, I'm fucking Shakespeare.
Damn, genius over here. When's
Exactly.
the
What can I
Fnatic
say?
collab coming?
True. My curtains are as black as a raven. That last one didn't work very well.
Damn,
But
emo.
the rest rhymed in both English and Swedish. So what can I say?
Impressive.
Thank you very much.
Truly.
Well, thank you very much for having me on this interview. It was except for the last bit, it was very enjoyable.
So, where can people find you?
People can find me on YouTube, Rose Wrist, ROSE, and then a space bar, and then WRIST. You can also find the link to all my other stuff, Discord, Patreon, as you mentioned, Twitter, on my website, rosewrist.com, rosewrist, one word, ROSEWRIST.com, and you can find the links to all my other stuff there as well. And I'm going to return the question to you right now for the people watching my upload of this.
YouTube is where I post everything. I have a Twitter and a Instagram, but no one follows there, so it's pretty much dead, and it's just in case someday it grows. But if you want to follow there, I might post sometime if there's people following. And just one last question that you reminded me of when you were saying your spiel. Would you ever get a rose tattoo on your wrist?
It depends if it's going to be tacky or not. I mean, I already have like I'm trying it out. I'm doing the trial period because this thing has some flowers on the wrist. So I'm gonna see if it's my vibe. I'm gonna wear this a little bit. Right now there are no plans to do so. But who knows? Maybe I will. I will most likely end up breaking one of my wrists before I end up having a tattoo because I have a propensity for breaking my bones. Yeah,
Can
I
you
remember
expand on that? I'm sorry, it's supposed to be ending, but why do you continuously break your bones?
That is a phenomenal question. Okay, I need to talk about this because this has like mind fucked me since I was like 12. Okay, no, even younger, like 9. Okay, so I used to play soccer. Okay, I used to be a goalkeeper. I was the best goalkeeper. I was the best. And one day we were playing a match, and at the end of the match there were penalties, and this kid who was like also 9 years old, just like stands back and runs and kicks the ball. I put up my hand. I'm gonna block the ball. The ball comes on my hands. Bang! Bounce it off easy. Except no, somehow the ball came at my hand hard enough that it like broke 2 bones on my wrist. I don't know what 9-year-old kid has like the power in their legs to kick a ball hard enough to break both bones in my arm, but I'm honestly terrified. And just dumb shit like that just happens over and over. From the beginning of my channel, I actually had a big cast on my wrist and on my forearm. So I was broken rose wrist there for a while. But yeah, I don't know. It's a struggle.
Are you afraid that your weakness is known to the internet?
I think it's gonna be over now. If anyone wants me dead, all you gotta do is just kick a football at me really hard, and it's done. It's done. In that
Let
case,
it be
my
known.
arms absorb most of the blow, but if you get it anywhere else, I don't know what will happen, to be honest.
A soccer ball will break Rose wrist. All right. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much again. And I'll see you around, buddy.
Yep. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's interview with today's guest, Rose Wrist. Make sure to check them out. Their links are going to be in the description, along with other links to whatever the fuck we talked about today that might interest you. Make sure to subscribe. Check out this video of mine if you want to. Keep your pants on, and see ya next time. Bye bye.
'Cause this is interviews with bands. Thank you.